As members of the Global Farmer Network,
we believe agriculture is part of the solution,
not part of the problem.
We are committed to developing agricultural leaders
and sharing their stories across the globe.
We have one purpose:
to amplify the farmer's voice.
My voice.
Mi voz.
La mia voce.
My voice.
Welcome to Global Farmer Voices, a podcast by the Global Farmer Network where we invite farmers from around the world to share their stories and perspectives. Hello, I'm Delaney Howell, host of this podcast series, and we're excited to welcome you to the last episode of our mini-series in partnership with the Farmer Voice Survey supported by Bayer. For the past 2 years, Bayer has sponsored a global survey of farmers in 8 countries across 6 continents. The latest survey is now available for farmers to access worldwide. The survey asked farmers to share their thoughts on a range of topics including innovation, digital technologies, business challenges and opportunities, as well as farming practices and how they feel about their livelihood. As we wrap up this mini-series in partnership with Bayer, we have shared some unique insights relating to regenerative agriculture, digital technologies used by farmers, the challenges and opportunities they face, and gained true insights from farmers across the globe. Although our podcast mini-series ends here, the conversation doesn't have to. We encourage you to join in on the conversation by visiting go.bayer.com/farmervoice. In the final episode of our mini-series, we connect with 3 farmers: Shekhar Bhadsavle from India, Jake Ryan from Australia, and Tim Durham from the United States about the future of agriculture and their farms. Bayer's Farmer Voice survey found that 2/3 of farmers surveyed are excited to encourage the next generation to pursue a career in agriculture, and these 3 farmers today are certainly no different. Before we dive into the future plans of these farmers, let's take a moment to understand who they are and where they come from. Shekhar Bhadsavle is a farmer in western India, where he primarily grows rice, but also fruits and vegetables.
I'm located near the city of Mumbai. It used to be called as Bombay. Mumbai is on the west coast of India, approximately in the center. And I'm about 100 kilometers southeast of Mumbai by road. It is a high rainfall area. High rainfall, that is 150 inches of rainfall in 5 months. And that's a lot of rain. So our main crop is designed around that high rainfall, which is rice. So our agricultural practices are a rice-based farming system. So we have on our farm is 50 acres, and 50 acres is considered as a large farm in India. In 50 acres, we have horticulture, in which we grow mango, chiku, that is sapota, coconut. We have field crops, which include rice, and after rice, we grow pulses, vegetables, corn, and such other crops. We have aquaculture, fish culture. I have 6 ponds in which I grow Indian carps, tilapia, and freshwater giant prawn. Then we have agroforestry that has crops like bamboo and teak. And the last but not the least, that's dairy, a very small dairy. But all these activities are integrated, and the 6th activity started, which is agrotourism. So crop of people. I grew in a rural area, and as a primary school student, about 2 miles I had to walk to the school, and that path was going through low height brushes or jungle where berries and some trees of mango fruit trees and such other plants were there. Plus I had to cross a little stream. So it was part of nature, and the school was at the base of mountain, and the aborigines from the nearby area were the students who studied with me in the same school. So it was kind of a combination of nature, food, and traditional way of thinking. So I sort of started liking nature, and agriculture is nature. So this is how I developed passion for agriculture. Agriculture is my passion.
Shekhar's farm demonstrates the rich integration of crops, livestock, and even aquaculture, shaped by the region's heavy rainfall and diverse climate. His passion for nature and agriculture is deeply rooted in his upbringing, surrounded by the rural landscapes of India. Shekhar also spends a good deal of his time inviting people to his farm and has started an agritourism farm to connect more deeply with the public. In Western Australia, Jake Ryan of 3 Ryan's Farm also has an extremely diverse operation. From vegetable production to livestock, navigating the Mediterranean climate of his region can certainly be tricky.
Our farm's located in Manjimup, West Australia. So we're located in the southwest of West Australia. So right down south. We are, I suppose, a high rainfall zone for Western Australia or Australia. We have about 700 mils of annual rainfall per year. And we're a pretty Mediterranean kind of climate. So cold, wet winters, hot, dry summers. So on the farm, we do all sorts. We're pretty diverse or extremely diverse. So we grow vegetables, so for the processing market. So think cabbage, so red and green cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli, and kale, so all the brassicas. And they go into up to the processors and get bagged off for bags of coleslaw and salads for the major chains. We also do sheep and cows, so we have about 1,000 ewes, and but generally mark about 140%. We also have cows, so we run an AI program, so artificial insemination, where we buy in a dry heifer, we then mate it, and then we sell a mated heifer at the end of the season. The reason we do this is just so that we don't have to worry about calving down in our busiest time of year. So I normally calve when we're flat out harvesting vegetables, and you just don't have time to go and check cows twice a day and pull calves and whatnot. We also have pasture-raised chickens. We currently run about 2,500, and we also have another grower that's growing 4,000 hens for us. So altogether, we got about 6,500 laying hens, and we sell them as a high-quality pasture-raised egg up to greengrocers up in Perth. So the higher-end stores kind of thing. We also grow cereal grains, so the wheat, barley, all those typical ones, and a few pasture seeds for ourselves. And we do all of this on 200 hectares. So we're very intense. But yeah, I suppose the beauty of it is that we don't get the highs or lows in terms of farm income, because when something's low, something's generally high. So it's good, I suppose, insurance for the business. But generally, I just love growing things. So growing vegetables and growing crops and livestock, and I suppose diversity in jobs. I suppose it's always something new or something different, especially on our farm. You never wake up and do the same job twice. Where I suppose I don't think I would got that variety in any other business or job.
Like Shekhar, Jake also sees an importance in inviting the public to his farm. And as Jake will mention later on in our chat, he shares a passion for showcasing agriculture to the public. From the diverse farming operations in Western Australia, traveling to the eastern United States, Tim Durham's farm is a much different kind of operation, located just on the outskirts of New York City. There, in the suburban landscape of Long Island, the Durham farm has been farming for generations, navigating the challenges of preserving farmland in a rapidly urbanizing area.
My family owns and operates what's called a truck farm. It's basically a leafy greens, among other things, farm in the outskirts of New York City, about 50 miles outside of New York City, Long Island, New York. And we're a fifth-generation operation, at least here stateside. We figure we've been farming at least as far back as 1750, going back to the old country, quote-unquote, Germany, if not before. So we're pretty well entrenched in the industry. I'm hoping my little cousin, Sam, decides to continue the reins. He's 32. His father is basically the owner. whereas Sam is the day-to-day kind of operator, chief operating officer, I guess you could say. And we've had a number of challenges, obviously being in the outer environs of New York City in kind of a suburban environment, which I'm sure we'll get into in the future. It was kind of an interesting arrangement. So the heir apparent initially to take over the reins of the farm was either my uncle or my mom, in theory. So my grandfather used to run the outfit. It was my grandfather's operation. And when he decided to exit, really my mom and my uncle both had no interest, but my grandfather's nephew, my older cousin who I referenced, it's a little confusing, decided that he wanted to assume the reins. So he basically gifted all the equipment to my cousin, his nephew. And you've heard the old adage, farmers are land rich, cash poor. And that pretty much typified our situation. So we needed a mechanism to allow my grandfather to retire with some semblance of a nest egg. And what we ultimately decided to do was, it was a three-way partnership. So between my grandfather, a local land trust, and the county. It's worked quite well for us. And I believe a number of our other farmers, particularly on the east end of Long Island, which is really kind of our agricultural belt, have had kind of a similar approach to maintain that generational continuity.
Tim's story is one of rich generational history, and as he mentioned, rooted back to Germany. However, even with a rich family history and farming to fall back on, their farm has not gone without challenges. The complexities of land ownership near a major metropolitan area have presented unique ways for his family to innovate and maintain the legacy. His passion for farming extends beyond the fields and into his role as a professor.
I think it's really just kind of enshrined in my blood. And although I'm not, quote unquote, a full-time farmer now, I'm an academic for about 9 months of the year, give or take. So I teach at a small liberal arts college called Ferrum College in the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains in Virginia. In that 3-month spacer interval where I'm not on academic contract with Ferrum, I always like to go back to New York and make a pilgrimage and get my hands dirty and just kind of keep up to date with the goings on in the industry and just to keep myself kind of honest and to maintain that credibility among my students. I think students can be very dismissive if you're teaching ag and you don't come from that type of background. So I definitely have a lot of anecdotes that I share with my students. Farming is really it's a lifestyle. It's a mindset and also a way of living. And it's something I deeply value, both from a historic, traditional perspective, but also as an active practitioner.
While all three farmers have a clear passion and focus on the next generation, it doesn't come without its challenges. Agriculture demands long hours and hard work, but it also offers diverse opportunities, from ag technology to regenerative agriculture. Jake believes this diversity is key to driving the industry forward and making farming not only viable, but innovative for the future. While long hours and tight margins may make this profession less appealing to younger generations, Jake feels the diversity of the industry and evolving technology are reasons for optimism.
It's a tough one because it is a hard lifestyle. Like, it is long hours. It's hard work. And especially regen things when you're changing. Like, no one wakes up and goes, I'm going to change from eating servo food to eating healthy, or going using toothpaste brand B to toothpaste C kind of thing. It's like, there normally has to be some sort of change. I think the younger generation is the one that's going to drive that change. So, I don't know, getting them in and showing that things can be done different and that it can be profitable. I think farming at the moment can be borderline profitable, which makes it, I suppose, less appealing to come back if you're going to work your ass off, do 12-hour days and then come back and not make any money. So I think that's one reason why young people be somewhat interested in coming back. But I think the diversity in just agriculture in general, like whether you like growing food or whether that's plants or animals or you're in the finance or ag tech, is such a diverse industry that I suppose all those little niches, if someone likes ag tech, then ag tech sector's going off at the moment. Or if you're into chemistry, then also you got the whole crop protection side of things. So it's a very diverse industry for young people to get into, and I suppose brings new ideas. For future farm for Australia, not sure. I think things change so fast. Like, if you had to ask me what our farm looked like 8 years ago, I would have never said what it looks like now, because it's just changed so much so quick. So obviously, when I first came back, it was a pretty conventional sort of a farm, although my dad and my uncle were pretty forward-thinking at the time. They were already quite regenerative in their practice or what they were doing, although they didn't call it that. They just called it farming, conventional. So come back home and all these things changed. We've done holistic grazing and adopted foliar fertilizers and reduced tillage and all these things, I suppose, classified as regenerative agriculture. We've done that in 8 years. So what we're doing now is not even remotely close to what we did 8 years ago. So next 8 years on our farm, I imagine it's going to be vastly different again. It's probably going to be bigger in ag tech. I think that's probably the way forward at the moment. And I think that's going to be Australia in general.
Challenges prove to be not all that dissimilar in India, with a rising population and a lack of young people interested in selecting agriculture as their chosen path.
Future of farming in India looks not very good. As you know, our population is increasing at a very high speed. And when there is more people, there is more mouths and more stomachs to feed. The way our governments are heading, they used to call organic farming as a big thing. Now they are calling natural farming. But whether it is organic or natural, what mindset that they have, the policymakers and the government top officials, and this is what they are also trying to spread. They are saying that means no chemicals is what they are saying. And no chemicals is just not possible to produce enough. Chemical is not our enemy, or chemical is not enemy of the farming according to the science. If it is used in proper dose, proper method, and proper timing. So chemical is not our enemy. The common salt that we eat in our food is also chemical, but we put that in our mouth and stomach every day. Sugar is another chemical. So chemical is not really bad, and this is difficult to to convince these policymakers. This is where I think GFN has a big role to play, because GFN is an organization which is built with opinions of so many farmers, so many people, so many experts from all over the world. This is my biggest hope. If I hold hand of GFN and together we are linked with everybody and form a force, I think we will be able to someday able to convince these policymakers. So we need to be together, strong, science-based, and try to convince by practicing, trying to convince by showing examples. I returned from America just 5 days ago. I was at Michigan, East Lansing, to receive an award called Ecologically Sound Agricultural Hero Award. So Ecologically Sound Agriculture Hero Award. But there also, when I was talking, I gave 2 lectures, and there also I noticed that many people are sounding and lauding the word organic food, organic farming. Especially, I noticed that there are some so-called amateur farmers farming. They're actually doing some job, but they have maybe 50 acre, 60 acre, 20 acre land where they're trying to produce food. I interacted with at least half a dozen of them. Everyone said, we want without chemicals. We want to grow food without this, organically. But I also met large farmers, the professional farmers at East Lansing. They are talking about residue-free, which is scientific. They're large farmers. They're large food-producing organizations. So residue-free organization, residue-free concept is a perfect scientifically correct concept. But this concept is a lot less all over the world. Apparently, the concept of organic food, in African countries, they're talking organic. I met a delegation from Japan just day before yesterday in our country at an exhibition. They are also thinking organic. And so Thailand, this Southeast Asian countries like Thailand, Vietnam, they're also thinking not exactly, they're not practicing organic, but they're talking organic. So if this concept of organic continues to grow amongst the people, the farming community, and amongst the consumers, and the policymakers are responsible for that, the government is responsible for that, is going to be difficult. The food shortage, in other words, there are many people who are saying food shortage is inevitable and chaotic situation will prevail. Warren Buffett says, very soon farmers will drive Ferrari and IT experts will drive their tractors. They are using this technique. It's freely available all over the website, all over YouTube, phone, everywhere. It's available. We are happy that more and more farmers are becoming happy. This all situation is very optimistic. And especially when I have friends like GFN, what else do I need?
As we look to the new year ahead, of course, perspective is always a bit rosier and optimistic about the year to come. Shekhar shares from his perspective, which is deeply tied to peace, happiness, and the cycles of nature, what he believes to be ahead in the following year.
Well, I think agriculture gives the most satisfaction and the happiness for someone who has a small tilt for nature or food production or agriculture. He or she should go into agriculture because that's where, even if you don't get a lot of money out of it, but you get a lot of peace, a lot of happiness, and a lot of satisfaction. For example, if you plant one seed of rice, the rice plant grows and it gives 10 tillers, 10 branches. Each branch has a panicle of seeds. Each panicle would have, let's say, 100 grains. So 10 times 10, 10 times 100 is 1,000 grains. So if you plant one seed, you get 1,000 seeds, 1,000 grains at the end of 4 months. This growth, this steady positivity, this gives a lot of happiness, a lot of satisfaction, a peace of mind. So I think young people should enter into it. And if those young people, if they're like college going or thinking of their future, I think it is going to be a very important business activity. That's what I would describe agriculture. This is what is in my mind all the time.
What a vivid picture Shekhar has painted, symbolizing the deeper rewards of working the land and a bright future. Tim brings a broader view. As an agronomic professor, he values advocating for proactive involvement in agriculture policy. He highlights the importance of progressive practices and resilience, particularly in the face of climate change and regulatory pressure.
Agriculture has, historically it seemed, always been on the defensive. So my view is, let's, as a farming community, for once, maybe go, and this might sound a little bit, incendiary, but go on the offensive for a change. Let's actively counter some of this nonsensical rhetoric that's out there. And let's mobilize our, literally thousands, tens of thousands of years of collective knowledge among all of these farmers. And lobby, I know that's a dirty word to a lot of people, but we're not lobbying for special breaks or anything like that, right? Or favoritism. We're just telling a story. And that story should hopefully translate to workable policy in the end that ensures that we, have a steady domestic flow of food. Otherwise, we're going to be increasingly beholden to, foreign powers, many of which want to see us fail, to be candid. But we need organizations like Farm Bureau and the like to kind of collectively aggregate our voices into a unified stream and translate that into policy. And I've had the great joy and privilege of doing that many years with Farm Bureau, particularly New York Farm Bureau. That's difficult to ascertain because you have, and again, not to be offensive, but you have kind of the old guard, right? The established farmer who's very unwilling to change his or her ways. And then you have the new crop, pun intended, the new generation coming up through the cracks, looking to maybe shake things up a little bit. And one word I think would be progressive. And again, depending on the circles, some people politically might not particularly like that term progressive. It might have a bad connotation. But from a farming perspective, we need to embrace that progressivism. And that's embracing some of those technologies that I mentioned previously. I think another term would be resilience, particularly in the face of climate change. For example, climate change mitigation, I don't think is at the forefront of most farmers' mindsets per se, but they're willing to engage in practices that, indirectly might help to mitigate, but from their day-to-day vantage point is just a sound sustainability practice. So like no-till farming, for example. I think that makes sense irrespective of whether or not you believe climate change is a thing or whether or not you believe climate change is, a imminent threat to our way of thinking and our way of acting and doing, for sure. Another perspective word I would say would be adaptive. We need to be able to adapt in real time to many of these curveballs that are being thrown at us, either by the weather via climate change, for example, or perhaps regulatory surprises that we were not anticipating.
These farmers are looking with hope to the next generation of agriculture. We would like to thank Shekhar, Jake, and Tim for their insight and time, and the 18 farmers around the world who contributed to these episodes in our special series. We would also like to thank Bayer for giving us the opportunity to help amplify our farmers' voices through this partnership. As the global conversation continues to unfold around more timely topics, be sure to get engaged by visiting go.bayer.com/farmervoice. If you're interested in learning more about the Global Farmer Network's mission and its members, seeing some of the things the organization is up to, and finding out how you can get involved, please visit globalfarmernetwork.org. If you enjoyed this podcast episode today, be sure to subscribe and follow the Global Farmer Network on social media: Facebook, X, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, and YouTube. Until next time, I'm Delaney Howell, and this has been a special series of the Global Farmer Voices podcast in partnership with the Farmer Voice Survey, supported and sponsored by Bayer.